Perfect. Caitlin, thanks for sitting down with us today. I'm glad you reached out to our agency and decided to, get some help with kind of what's going on in your situation. I've heard a little bit about what's going on just from your initial intake forms, a little bit of information provided to us, but we kind of want to take the time to get to know you a little bit better, kind of see where you're at, and just kind of get a general assessment done for you so that we can figure out how best to help you. So obviously that's our focus here is, to make sure that you're getting the best help that you can, and just really get you taken care of, especially given the circumstances that you find yourself in. So go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for work, kind of what your family background looks like, anything like that that I guess would help us get to know you better.
Yeah. So I'm 41. The reason I came in is because my husband and I are separated, and we'll get into that in a minute, I guess. But for work, I teach I teach 2 different courses at high school, and I do coach the tennis team. And my husband works at the high school, he works at the high school as well. And I have 2 kids. They're 18 and 20. So they're still at home,
Okay.
but they're older. And yeah, that's a bit about me.
Wow, you must be very busy with all of those courses to teach and coaching tennis. Which one do you enjoy the most?
I really like my French class that I teach. I love the French culture and the French language, and I think that's the one I enjoy the most.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Awesome. That's an excellent profession. We need more good teachers, so good for you for doing that. Just to clarify, you said that you and your husband work together at the high school, is that right?
We do, yeah.
How long have you guys been there together for? Has it been your whole marriage, or?
It's been, we've worked at this high school for the last 6 years. We kind of bounced around, but we met in graduate school, and yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent.
And do you feel like working with him at that same school, like, has that affected your ability to work or perform in your job?
Yes, yeah. I feel like normally it's pretty good, but he did have an affair a few years ago with one of the teachers that we both worked with, and so that was hard. And a lot of our friends, like they're all like the same friends, so we share the same friend group, and a lot of them are from the school, so that's kind of difficult, especially with what's going on right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I want to definitely address more of that later, because I think there's a lot there that I would like to talk with you about. But before we go any further, I just wanted to go over, like, you filled out the client consent form that we sent you beforehand. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. And you were able to review all of the HIPAA regulations and the different confidentiality parameters?
Yeah, it was a little confusing, but like I got the gist of it, so.
Okay, yeah, just to clarify, everything you say here today is going to be confidential just between the 3 of us. There are a few exceptions to that. When it comes to, we are mandated reporters, Sam and I, and so if there is anything that you mentioned today regarding child abuse, child sex abuse material, or child pornography, elder abuse, potential harm to others or yourself, if you express any of those types of things, then we will have to report that. But everything else that you discussed with us today will remain confidential.
Okay.
And of course, let it be known that anything that you do say to us in confidence, I mean, we will certainly suggest certain resources along the way to help with, anything that we think might need attention. Obviously, those resources are for you to take up, and we'll help you along the way as much as we can, but we obviously won't force you into anything, or pass your information along onto people that you don't want to know about any of this. So,
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Our end goal here is to help you in any way we can. So we're just going to provide you with some suggestions of resources, and we definitely want to help you as much as we can as well. So just yeah, just keep that in mind throughout the assessment, that we are here to help you and we're here for you.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry for that little side note, but let's get back to I guess kind of the history between you and your husband. So you mentioned that he'd previously had an affair with somebody else at the high school. Is that, I guess, kind of the reasoning for your current separation, or is there, I guess,
Ugh.
story there? What's kind of been the short version of that history? I know it's hard to summarize.
Yeah, that's a
but
yeah, that's a loaded question. So honestly, like I'm not sure how, if it connects to like what's going on recently. I don't think he's having another affair, but he just came home one night, like 2 months ago. We've been separated for 2 months now, but he just came home one night and just said he didn't want to be married anymore. And I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. And so I don't think it's for another affair, because there was the one about 6 years ago with the teacher, and then and we worked through it together and we got through it. But then he did have a second affair a few years later, and I just couldn't take it. So I told him like he needed to cut it out, or I was gonna be done with the marriage. And then he stopped. And so I guess at that time he cared enough about our marriage to end it. So, and he promised to be faithful and to not do that again. So I'm like, the recent news that he didn't want to be married anymore was a shock to me. Didn't expect it.
Yeah, and how was your relationship after that second affair, and after you guys worked through that? Was there any abuse that you experienced, verbal, physical, emotional?
No, so he never like hit me, and we would have fights and disagreements. He would throw things sometimes, and when he was really upset, sometimes he'd hit the couch, but no, he'd never like throw anything at me or hit me. But yeah, we did have a few intense fights after that second affair.
But nothing that led you to thinking that he would eventually want to have a divorce, as you said?
No, yeah. No, I figured because he ended that second affair, like, because I told him I would leave, like, I figured he didn't want me to leave and he wanted to keep the marriage together, and that's why he ended it. So yeah.
Well, I first want to say thank you for sharing that with us. I understand how difficult that can be. I mean, even just reliving it in part through telling it again. So thank you for being willing. And just know that we're, certainly taking note of all of this so that we can help you out the best that we can. So you had mentioned that, you had kind of threatened divorce at some point. That you had said, if you don't end the affair, then obviously we're done. Which is certainly a common reaction for a lot of people. What was there anything you felt like was holding you back from, I guess, kind of pulling the trigger on that, from going forward with the divorce, and that made you want to work through your marriage or work together on your marriage even more? Is there a specific?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't go through with it, and honestly, at the time, I don't know if I would have gone through it either. I was just so upset. But like, so even then, and especially right now, like I do want to be married. Like I don't I don't want him to leave, but he might leave me anyway. But I don't think I could make the steps to ultimately leave, because when I was 10 years old, my parents divorced, and that was just so hard on me. And I don't want that for my kids, even though they are older. It hurts, and it affects them. And to be honest, I just don't want to be alone. I've been with Jay for 20 years. And yeah, I don't want the marriage to end. So.
And do you feel like you have a pretty solid support system outside of your immediate family, outside of the kids and Jay? Do you?
It's I can't, because of where I stand, because I don't want the divorce, I can't talk to either of my parents about it, because that's what they did. And that's, their opinion would be to just get a divorce and just kind of let it happen. But that's not what I want. So I don't want to hear that from them. And so, yeah, no, I don't have a great support system. The only one I really talk to is my neighbor, because she doesn't work at the school. And even though she's our neighbor, she's not as close to the situation as our main friend group, because we share all of those friends and we work with all of them. So I don't want to pull them into the mess. I don't want them to feel like they have to pick sides. So I'll talk a little bit to my neighbor, but not a ton. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you've been reaching out and that you've been reaching out to your neighbor. That sounds like you have a pretty good relationship with her.
Yeah, she's super nice. She's really understanding. She's done her own therapy and stuff, and she has anxiety, so she gets it. When I start ruminating and get really anxious, and start talking to her about it, she's so nice. Sometimes she'll give me one of her Xanax, and that I found has really helped to calm me down. Obviously I don't do that all the time, but she's just super understanding. So.
Well, I'm glad you have a good relationship with her. And you said that you've been experiencing some anxiety and coping with that using medication. Are there any other things you're using to cope with that, or?
No, no, I don't use alcohol, if that's what you're referring to. I don't use anything like that. I've just kind of been toughing it out, more or less.
Well, if you wouldn't mind me clarifying really quick, you just said that that your neighbor will give you some of her Xanax prescription, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any prescription medications that are prescribed to you at this time?
I don't. I've never been diagnosed with anything, so I don't think I would qualify for antidepressants or anything like that. But yeah, so no, I don't have any prescriptions or medications.
Okay. And did you say that you have attended therapy before, or was that your neighbor who's attended therapy?
Yeah, so yes, she had attended therapy, and then I attended therapy briefly after my first child, Lucy, was born. It was, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of maybe where Jay and I, that was the beginning of the distancing in our marriage. So I felt that distancing, and so I went to therapy, and there I felt like I gained better skills to communicate with him, especially my needs, because I don't want to bother him. And so, but having a kid's really hard, and I didn't feel like he was super involved with helping around a lot. just felt like he was more busy with his work and his like appearance at work. But the therapy did help, and it was just a few sessions, but it helped me like voice my needs more clearly to him, and I think it improved our relationship at the time.
Okay, that's awesome that you had a positive experience with therapy. Did you get a diagnosis, or I guess were any medications prescribed during that time, or any diagnosis set?
No diagnosis and no medication.
I guess one other thing, Caitlin, that I'm kind of worried about, or I guess that I would like to know more about from you is, a lot of, kind of traumatic situations like this where, you have the sudden separation from a spouse, that there are certainly, you know, physical and mental and emotional ramifications. They all take a toll on us, right? So I guess I just kind of want to figure out, how it is that you are coping with this. We've talked about it mentally and emotionally a little bit, but just kind of how you're doing physically. Do you feel like that that this recent separation has affected your sleep and your eating patterns at all? That there is, some differences there as opposed to 6 months ago or a year ago or even 5 years ago?
Yeah. So just, I guess it started like 2 months ago, when we separated, and it's continued since then. When I go to bed, like I sleep fine, like I just conk out, but I don't want to go to bed alone. And so I end up just staying up super late. And eventually I'll get tired enough to fall asleep, but I have to wake up early to be to school at 7 to teach my classes. And so, yeah.
So do you feel like you've been getting less sleep because of that then? You don't want to go to bed and you still have to wake up early? Or are you still getting...
Yeah. Yeah, I've been, like, I definitely feel it during my day. Like I've always been like really prepared for my classes, and I've been really organized, but I just feel like I'm so worried about like being tearful like during the class, or like showing my emotions, and like I'm just really disorganized, and I don't feel as prepared or focused during class, and I just have like this constant anxiety because like I feel like my friends are there and they know something's wrong, but like I can't talk to them about it, and Jay works there too, and so just like being in that close proximity with him, but we're separated, and if I'm not feeling anxious, like I'm just like not feeling anything, like I just feel numb.
I see. And I am so sorry. That must be so difficult. I can't even imagine. But going along with that, if you saying that you feel numb, have you experienced any type of suicidal ideation or feelings of hopelessness?
Um, not, no, not typically, but sometimes like if it gets super late at night with not wanting to go to bed alone, like my thoughts I just start ruminating, and I get really anxious. And I've just noticed like scratching, like I'll find that I'm scratching my arm and just wishing that I won't wake up the next morning.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We appreciate that. That's good to know. Okay, just a couple more questions here, and then I think we'll kind of wrap this up. I know that I, at least, and I'm assuming Whitney does as well, we have a couple ideas of some things that we can definitely get you in contact with to really start with this helping process. But I guess just two other questions that I have for you, just so that we understand, I guess, kind of your personal legal history a little bit better. Do you have any form of, or any sort of legal history, any um, I guess, crimes that you've committed in the past that you've been convicted of in the past that we should know about? Anything along those lines?
No, I've got a clean history. Yeah.
Okay, great. And have you ever been the victim of physical, sexual, emotional abuse and or neglect?
No. Yeah. No, yeah, I'm good in those areas.
To know. Perfect. Well, I feel like that we've gotten, a fairly good idea of, kind of where you're at and what your needs are. So kind of moving forward, obviously we'll meet together again to just kind of see how you're doing and offer further resources. But the couple of resources that we have that at least come to mind, the first one that I want to bring up is, I think that it would certainly be beneficial for you to sit down with one of our psychiatrists here and have a meeting with them. They would obviously conduct a little bit of a further and a little more thorough evaluation than what we've done here. Um, yeah, and we can work with them on that. One thing I really don't want you to rule out is the possibility of getting a prescription for medication or seeing a therapist regularly. I mean, you've expressed that you've had a positive experience with therapists in the past, back when your first child was born, and I think that's something that should at least be explored, that there could be some help to be found there. And the psychiatrist is great as well because, he can even prescribe you medication if he finds a diagnosis or finds that something along those lines would help. Obviously, I'm not going to promise anything because, that's his job, but
Yeah.
we'll definitely get you in touch there and get a meeting set up with them as well. Is that something that you'd be interested in, is meeting with a psychiatrist?
Yeah. I don't love the idea of like relying on a medication, but at this point it kind of like it is what it is,
Yeah, and that's definitely something you can discuss with him as well. Because you can, as you talk with one of our doctors here, they can go over these feelings of anxiety and potential like hopelessness or numbness that you've been feeling. And you guys together can determine what is the best course of action for you. I don't want you to feel like you'll be backed into a corner with anything. Whatever we do here to help you, I want you to know that you're not alone and that it might get harder before it gets better just because there's a lot of difficult feelings to work through beforehand. But we will just offer you those resources, and hopefully we just want you to get on the track to feeling more hope in life and not having those feelings of loneliness and anxiety that you've been experiencing.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, my my dog wants to say hi.
No, he's so cute. What's their name?
His name's Odin.
Oh.
He's been just really helpful during all of this, but sorry, obviously I'm like in an office, this would not be a thing, but anyways.
Okay.
No, we understand.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, great. Yeah. Not only did we want to offer you that resource of meeting with one of our doctors here eventually in person, as we talked about, but we also wanted to recommend a support group that it takes place in Salt Lake. It's called Empowered Women's Club. And that's just a support group for women to get together, and they cater towards people who are going through heartbreaks or separation or divorce, potential divorce, which I'm not sure, of course, like what is going to happen with you and Jay or where you guys are going to end up. But I think that this would be a helpful resource in just helping you to balance your emotions and connect with other women and know that you're not alone.
What's it called?
It's called Empowered Women's Club in Salt Lake City, and I'll send you over in an email just the information of like who you can contact and where their meetings take place.
Okay, that'd be super nice. Just because, yeah, I've like no one to talk to, so that'd be really nice.
Great.
And then I guess the one last thing that I want to touch on, and I guess we didn't necessarily specify this together, but if the separation does end up progressing, obviously we're at a point where really anything can happen.
Yeah.
you guys really could work through it together and stay happily married, and there's obviously a chance for the divorce to continue. We're not the ones to say whether or not that's going to happen. Obviously, a lot of that's going to come down between you two. But one thing that may be hard to consider at this time, but that we certainly would recommend that you consider is involving some sort of legal counsel as well. Just because, as I'm sure you're aware, with your parents' divorce, there is obviously a lot that happens through the law regarding divorce and the termination of marriage and everything like that, especially where you have kids living at home.
Yeah.
So that's obviously not something that we need to dive too deep into today. There's still a lot that kind of needs to work itself out there, but we do have connections to Utah's legal services, both government-based public practices and private practices as well. So we can certainly get you connected with those when and if you decide that you need those as well.
Yeah, and if you feel comfortable talking with a lawyer, we can put you in contact with them. And if that's not something that you and Jay would feel comfortable with, we also have contacts to mediators and different mediation services that are offered. And even some of those are pro bono. So we can try to figure something out and just see if maybe that could help you guys to at least just clarify more what both of you are wanting.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's good to know that that's something that I should be considering at this point.
Well, I just wanted to say thanks again for taking the time to meet with us. I know that, like I said before, a lot of what you've shared with us certainly is difficult, but we want you to know that you're not alone in it, that we're certainly here to help you out in every way that we can, and just keep connecting you with all the resources that we have, and really just hope that we're able to get through this all together in a really healthy way. Are there any other, I guess, questions or concerns that you have for us? Anything you wanted to bring up with us before we, end our meeting for today and get another one scheduled for a different time?
No. No, I'm feeling pretty exhausted just after this. So.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, you have the contact information for our office. Obviously, we'll get another meeting set up, but if you need to reach out to us beforehand, please feel free to. We're definitely here. We have staff here to help out, even if myself or Whitney are not available. So, yeah, feel free to reach out anytime you need to, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Caitlin, and we will talk to you again next week.
Okay, thank you.